Welcome to the Upward Running Podcast, where faith fuels your fitness journey.
Welcome back to the Upward Running Podcast. This is your one stop each week to be motivated and inspired to get off the couch and on to the running trail where you can, in turn, inspire others to do the same. Let's learn, laugh, and leap into running together, giving God the glory for what we are able to do in His name. Amen. I am your running host, Dean Thompson, coming to you once again from the Upward Sports Studio. Well, we've seen lives changed over and over through the sport of running over all these years. We have one of those stories today, and I think you're going to love it. If you don't smile at some point while you're listening to this story, well, we'll guarantee your money back for whatever you paid for this podcast. How's that? And then I'm going to talk about a kitchen appliance we don't use much anymore and relate it back to fitness and faith. You don't want to miss that. We are packed full of great stuff this week. And back in his chair this week is Upward Running Director, fresh off a spectacular trip to the other side of the ocean, Mitchell Hollis.
Thanks for having me, Dean. Still a little jet lagged this morning. That's a real thing. I've never been that way, and
so how far behind schedule were you from time-wise? Was it like 6 hours?
6 hours ahead.
6 hours ahead.
Yeah. So
wow.
Getting back, I told you before we got on, if you're a Garmin person, you'll know what this means. But I got in the bed in the wee hours of the morning yesterday morning, getting back, and my body battery was 2. Because for 26, 28 hours or whatever, we didn't sleep.
Yeah.
And then, all of last week, I wasn't sleeping good while we were there, and then not eating good, and But it was a really cool experience. I was telling you before, we went to, and the only reason I went is because my good buddy Dean Stamper, he's one of these million-mile guys for Delta and all that. So basically, we paid for taxes on the airline tickets, and so it's great to have a friend like that. But we went to Paris and Rome. And man, I've never been over there, and it was just amazing the scale of the things that they built, in the first century. And just everything is humongous, and you sit there and you wonder how. I told you about it looked like a 10-ton block on the top of the Colosseum, which is like 140 feet in the air. And as my background's building, I'm sitting there thinking, how did they get that up there?
Yeah. Without modern tools.
It would be an enormous lift for a crane. And they did this back in the days of Jesus. And it's just, of course you hear this, you mentioned the pyramids, but to see pictures just doesn't do it justice. It was so incredible. And the culture, but the food, me, I'm a foodie, man. You eat different over there.
Was it great?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as a carnivore, I love red meat. I ate red meat one time, and I really didn't miss it.
Really?
Yeah. But
because the food was that good.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, the pasta, I'm not really a big pasta person, but when you're sitting there watching the lady in the kitchen hand make the pasta, that's just so tastes different. Everything over there is just so different than here.
Yeah.
Not better, but just so... I was in culture shock. I was a redneck way out of my culture over there. And but we went to the Vatican, and gosh, that was just... You go over there, Dean, and one thing it really hit me is people in America who don't believe in Jesus Christ need to go there, because there's paintings all over that city. We went to the Louvre Museum in Paris, and then we went to the Vatican and the Vatican Museum and Sistine Chapel. 90% of what is represented in paintings and art over there is Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And
that's an interesting observation.
If it's fictitious, then all these people were living in La La Land or something. He is depicted in everything over there.
Wow.
And so I don't know, it was really neat. You got to see where Peter is buried.
Cool.
Peter, I didn't realize, but that is, you've seen the pictures of St. Peter's Basilica that's in the Vatican. Well, that big dome, he is buried directly underneath that dome. His tomb is down there. And I don't know, it's just I climbed up the stairs that Jesus climbed up when he was convicted by Pontius Pilate. That was a religious experience. I mean, it was. Yeah. You can't walk up, you crawl up them.
Yeah.
And it probably took me 30 minutes on your knees, and you're praying the whole way, and it was so surreal to be on something that Jesus was on.
Wow.
I don't know. It's just, I would love to go all over that area, because you can like take the tour of Paul, where he went to all the churches. You can do those tours, but I've never had the desire to go to Europe.
Yeah.
And the only reason we went this time was because my good buddy Dean basically gave us the tickets, and I'm glad I went.
Yeah.
It was gives you a different lens to look at the world.
Well, let me ask you something you probably didn't even look into, but I'm just going to ask you anyway.
What's that?
Any good places to run over there?
I didn't do any. We walked probably 8 to 10 miles a day.
I bet you walked a lot. Yeah.
And so I didn't run, but there were a lot of runners there. There were a lot of runners. Yeah.
You saw a lot of people running.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Plenty of good places to run. I mean, in both places you got Paris and in Rome, there's big rivers that go through those places, and there's river walks.
Yeah, of course.
All along.
That makes sense.
Yeah, we saw a lot of runners for sure.
Well, cool.
But we did a lot of walking, and like I said, I'm whipped.
Well, we're glad you're home and safe. Our post of the week last week comes from Alaura Page Adams. She says, "Today I completed this year's goal of 1 race a month, making today my 13th of the year, a baker's dozen. 2 Januaries ago, I started the same challenge, and now I've completed 26 races in 2 years. The cherry on top is that today I set my PR. Like many of you, until recently, I adamantly told people I am not a runner. A few weeks ago, my patient, I do mammography, asked, 'Are you a runner?' I admitted, 'Yes, why do you ask?' She replied, 'Well, you look like a runner.' I felt so complimented. As I ran today, I thought about how all Christians are runners, maybe just in a different sense. We're all going through life learning how to pace ourselves, how to improve our walk or run with God, and how to endure the hard things. I've also thought about running, as in life, isn't all about the destination, but truly is about the journey. To live is Christ and to die is gain. Life is hard. I lost my mom at age 17. I am now 58. Every day since then, I have had a deep longing to be crossing the proverbial finish line and to be home with my mom. For now, I'm learning that I can be content where God has me, and that I can and will persevere and do the work He has set before me. This year, I will lead an Upward 5K class. I'm so excited. Thank you, Upward team, for helping me achieve my goals and equipping me to do life better."
Wow, what a great post.
Yeah. First of all, congratulations for setting this long-term goal and achieving it. One of the things that I've always said this about college degrees. Now, college degrees are really useful for somebody who's an engineer or a doctor or something where you have specific learning. But for a lot of people, I was a management major. The most valuable thing that I learned in college were two things. Number one, time management. Number two, and that was because I worked at the same time I was in college. But number two is looking at a long-term project and following it through to its completion. I think those are the classes are fine, whatever. Yeah. But those are the two things I think are most important.
Yeah, it teaches you structure and rigor. And I had a conversation with Lane yesterday. He was on the podcast last week, but he just got a new job. Is he industrial engineer or mechanical engineer?
I think is he a process engineer? I was thinking he was.
No, I think he's the industrial engineer for Plant 4.
Okay.
Which is kind of humorous because he doesn't have an engineering degree, but now he's the industrial engineer of a plant. Go figure that. But he said, I've learned more in 90 days on that job than I learned in all 4 years of college.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's because he's surrounded by all these engineers, and he's just taking it all in. And so, yeah, kudos to her, though. That's setting a long-term goal like that and then checking it off. There's really not a whole lot better than that. I mean, it's great.
Yep. That's what it takes to be better at running. A long-term commitment. If you really want to get better. You notice how she's setting a PR 2 years after she started this journey, because she's had this consistency over time. And I always love to hear these stories about how it dawns on somebody at some point in time, oh, I am a runner.
Yeah.
Because the truth is they were a runner the first time they went out.
Yeah.
That's the truth. But I get it. I completely understand how people
for others to notice it is
that's great. I can imagine the feeling inside.
It's kind of like going to the doctor and they check your pulse and they say, "Oh, you must be a runner." You're like, your chest sticks out a little bit more and you're like, "Yeah, I am."
Yeah. And all the stuff she was talking about, our Christian walk and being like running. Well, I've written 500 or so, probably. Dean's Thoughts. That's what they all are.
Sure.
So I get it. Our run of the week comes from Ashley Daly. She says this: last weekend was my first race since the end of October, and I got first overall in the Mayhem Night Trail 10-miler. This race was at my favorite park, McDowell Mountain Regional Park. The weather was beautiful, and as always, the Aravapa ran a great event. 10-milers are one of my favorite distances, and they aren't offered very often. I was less than 2 minutes ahead of second place, who was less than 2 minutes ahead of third place, so it was a pretty tight race. I really pushed myself to stay out front, and I'm so grateful that God helped me hold on. He is good. I've still got some work to do to get back to the level of fitness I want to be at, but I am definitely enjoying this win, and it is such a great motivation to keep grinding.
Wow. Another good one.
Yeah. Congratulations to Ashley. Winning the race is a big deal, right?
Yeah.
And Ashley posts a lot of stuff, and so I see her getting in a lot of quality runs. So I don't know why she's not in great shape right now, but I think she always keeps herself. Like there's times where I'll say I'm not in great shape right now, but everybody knows I'm running every day. I'm always in fairly good shape, right? And that's kind of the way Ashley is, I think. So I went back to Strava to see how much running she has been doing, because I was just curious to see. And she hasn't posted on Strava in a while. So only reason I bring that up, I'm not saying she should be or she shouldn't be or that she's doing anything wrong or whatever. But I want everybody to know that Upward Running, we have a Strava group, and you can join that Strava group. Now, it'll take, sometimes I'll approve it right away, and sometimes I don't see it for a day or two. But you just request to join that group, and we'll get you in the Strava group. We have over 600 people in that group, and I really enjoy it. I don't do social media very much. I'm not a fan of social media, never have been. I can't get into it. But Strava, I can scroll through Strava every other day or so, and I really enjoy doing that. So that's the only social media that I do. So join our Strava group if you haven't done that already. Become a part of that. You'll enjoy seeing what everybody else in the group is doing. Now, I have to admit, when I was reading this, I cringed a little bit when I saw the words night and trail in the same description.
It's a recipe for face plant.
Yes. You know me, I'm not a trail fan. But listen, for those who love trails, that's great. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
But I do like cross country, which is different than trail running. Matter of fact, I just told you before I came in here, I just ran some 400 meter repeats on the grass this morning because I'm trying to get ready for our cross country meet. But I'm not a big trail fan. Yeah. But Ashley is, and she does a great job at it. So good job, Ashley. Our trivia question from last week. I think we've asked this question in the past, but this is always a good question. What is VO2 max? So I decided that I would, instead of giving my answer, I would ask Perplexity or Comet, which is the browser for Perplexity, to answer this question for us. And this is what it said. VO2 max is a core measure of aerobic fitness that describes how much oxygen your body can use during hard exercise. It is one of the best single indicators of endurance capacity and cardiovascular health. The basic definition, VO2 max, stands for maximum volume of oxygen, meaning the greatest amount of oxygen your body can take in, transport, and use per minute during intense exercise. It is usually expressed in millimeters of oxygen per kilogram of body weight. And what does it tell you? Well, the higher VO2 max generally means your heart, lungs, blood vessels, and muscles are all working together efficiently to deliver and use oxygen. Because of this, VO2 max is widely used as an objective marker of cardiorespiratory fitness and endurance performance potential. Again, it's measured by this idea of volume of oxygen per kilogram of body weight. But also, you'll notice that your GPS watch has a VO2 max listed on it. And it's not ideal, it's not perfect, but it's a pretty good indicator. Yeah. And certainly for a person, if your VO2 max is going up or down according to your watch, that is probably accurate. So it's a good ballpark figure. And it matters because for runners, the higher the VO2 max usually means that you can run faster for longer periods of time. So it's really a measure of how your body produces ATP, which is the energy source that your muscles need to keep going. And your VO2 max can be improved. It's influenced by genetics, but it can be increased with training, especially through consistent aerobic work and higher intensity intervals that stress the cardiovascular system. Gains tend to be largest in relatively untrained individuals and become smaller as you approach your genetic potential.
So that's a great segue before we go to break into, I sent you a text week before last, and I said it's happening.
Yeah.
You remember that text?
Yep.
So we have talked about on many occasions on here how the game changer for, I believe, for running is going to be when you cross-pollinate all of your health information with your physical activity information. And those two worlds have really never communicated. Mm-hmm. And I feel like when you put those two things together and then you throw AI in the mix, it's going to come up with something we're not even seeing. Well, week before last, before I went out of town, I sent you a text, and you and I are both do the function health, which is where we get, it's basically blood work, but it's 110 or 112 biomarkers that we test every 6 months. And it's just a really deep dive into our health from a biomarker standpoint, mm-hmm. checking everything from cholesterol to, I don't know, all the things. Well, I thought it would be Garmin opening the door to letting your biomarkers in, but I got a message from Function Health, which is who I do all my blood work to, asking me to sync with Garmin.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know if you saw this, but Garmin yesterday morning, I got a message from Garmin asking me to set up, they're calling it lifestyle markers or something. It's not fully integrating.
I did that, yeah.
But it's you can tell the roads are being paved.
They are
both ways, and I don't know. It's going to be so cool to see. So I've done both of them.
Yeah.
And for Function Health, I don't know if you went through the whole questionnaire. It took me like 30 minutes yesterday to go through the questionnaire of your whole life. They want a picture of your whole life. Now, some people might say,
I haven't gotten that email.
Really?
I have not. Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
I wonder if I'm like a test case or something. They'll pick a sample.
Yeah.
Some people might say, well, that's too much information. I can probably agree, but I don't know. I did it. Usually that's something I wouldn't do.
Yeah.
But I feel like I trust Function Health. I trust Garmin. And so I'm putting two things together that already have all my information.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just pairing them. If I trust Function Health and I trust Garmin, then why wouldn't I trust both of them together?
Right.
We probably shouldn't trust any of them, but, we can't get away from that. So, I don't know. It's going to be really cool over the next few years to see where all that takes us.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm excited to see it. One of the things we're just talking about VO2 max. One of the things about VO2 max is that there is a direct correlation between VO2 max, high VO2 max and longevity. Mm-hmm. And it is one of the most stark indicators of longevity. The difference between somebody at the lower end of a VO2 max and the higher end of VO2 max is several years of length of life.
Right.
So it's a big deal.
Yeah.
So, and putting all this stuff together and then adding AI in the mix to be able to look at all those things and not just for us, but when you take into account thousands and hundreds and millions of people, and you start to average all that stuff out, AI is going to learn some stuff that we couldn't learn in 100 years digging through the data.
We haven't learned in all of society.
Right.
I think, I don't know. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Upward Sports equips churches to run self-sustaining sports ministries in their communities. Whether you're a sports fanatic or on staff at a church, Upward Sports will give you all the tools you need to run a first-class sports ministry that allows you to reach families in your community. Upward Sports offers basketball, soccer, flag football, cheerleading, volleyball, baseball, and softball through league and camp offerings. At Upward Sports, we want to help your church make a difference and give you increased opportunities to share the gospel. Learn more today at upward.org. That's upward.org.
Okay, so I have this story that I don't want to freak anybody out. That's not my goal here.
But you're going to freak a lot of people out.
But it's an interesting story, and you know how you kind of, when you see a story that supports what you believe, it really stands out to you. Well, this is called
an echo chamber.
Yes. The hidden health risks of bottled water. And this is talking about how it says growing mistrust of tap water has helped turn bottled water into a global staple, even in countries where public supplies are among the most rigorously tested. Marketing has positioned bottled water as purer, healthier, and more convenient, but the scientific evidence tells a different story. The 2025 study, this suggested that bottled water may not be as safe as many people assume. Tests on water sold in refillable jugs and plastic bottles found high levels of bacterial contamination. The findings add to a growing body of research suggesting that in many places tap water is not only safe, but often more tightly regulated and reliably monitored than bottled alternatives. Now, the bottom line is that you have problems with both tap water and bottled water. Mm-hmm. Just to summarize this whole thing, there's some of both, and we shouldn't. I don't think we should hold one as being better than the other. Now, there are certain municipal systems that are certainly better than others, and I hear people all the time say, "Well, the reason I drink bottled water is because my tap water doesn't taste good." All right, that's fine. Whatever. I do know that the fluoride in our water, which is being challenged right now by the whole MAHA thing, has been possibly a net good for our teeth, the health of our teeth over the years. Now, could it be that they're calling it, I mean, they're saying all sorts of things about it, that it's a, what do they call it? I can't remember what they call it, a neurotoxin. And is it? I don't know. I just know that there's inherent risk in everything that we do, right? So there's inherent risk. If I get in the car right now and I drive to the grocery store, there is inherent risk in the fact that I am on the road in a car going to the grocery store. Everything we do has some risk. And what I think this study is showing is that there is some risk in tap water. There is some risk in bottled water. And, you know, when I asked Spider Sillery, who, if you've been listening to us for a long time, you probably know who Spider is. He is a doctor. He's kind of a, for lack of a better phrase, a health fanatic.
Sure.
Very careful about what he eats, what he puts in his body. And I asked him one day on a run, I said, what do you think is the number one problem with what we eat today? And he very quickly said, microplastics. Well, if microplastics is something that really bothers you, well, bottled water has microplastics in it very often. And so, and then on the other side, you've got tap water. I guess what I'm saying is I'm not going to spend money. I've never bought bottled water that I didn't buy it for somebody else. I've never bought myself a bottle of bottled water. I won't do it because I just think it's a waste of money because I can get water out of a tap. I'd rather get water out of a hose and put it in my water bottle than to buy a bottle of water, just on principle. Now, is that maybe going a little too far? I'm not saying that's the right thing. I'm just saying. So I guess I say all this to say, don't worry about your bottled water. Don't worry about your tap water. Just drink whatever you think is best, and that it's all up to you.
So a year or so ago, I don't know if we talked about this. My background is construction. So when we made the move into our new house, I ran across, and I'm actually looking at it right now, a test kit, bottled water test, drinking water test kit. And the reason I have those is because I used to have to test water on construction sites to make sure we're not contaminating, great EPA, EPD. And so I thought, I'm going to test something. So I tested, now it wasn't bottled water, but I was testing the efficacy of water filtration system that you put on your refrigerators,
okay.
The new refrigerators.
Yeah. Because
it says that you need to replace this every 3 months and the filters are $50. And so I thought, I'm going to challenge this. So now we have always been known for having good drinking water here in Whitfield County. Dalton Utilities is kind of known for that. But so I tested, it tests for heavy metals, bacteria, everything in these tests. And both tests were basically exactly the same. The only difference was the tap water had very few parts per billion more fluoride, but just minuscule.
Yeah.
And so what it showed me was that for me living in Whitfield County, having Dalton Utilities tap water, I'm not spending $35 on water filters. And I would bet I would get the same results if I compared that to bottled water.
Yeah.
I think I just looked it up. That's what I was Googling when you were talking. Bottled water industry is a $350 billion industry.
Yeah.
That's a lot of incentive to create a narrative.
Yeah.
Are there places where you shouldn't drink tap water? Yeah, probably. Sure. It made me think when we were in Rome.
Yeah.
When in Rome. I don't know if you've ever read about this. I didn't know anything about it. But you go around the city, and all over the city, there are like these fountains that are just, there's like it'll be a lion's head. This lion's head's probably, this water fountain is probably 2,000 years old, but they're shooting out water, and it's drinking water. And it's so you walk anywhere in the city, if you've got like a bottle or a cup, you can, and it's clean, it's great, and it's all over the city. But the bottled water craze has not caught on over there like it has.
Oh, really?
Here, yeah.
Huh. So that's an American thing.
At least from what I saw over there, yeah.
That's interesting.
I mean, you go to eat somewhere and they bring out a carafe. My wife was very lovingly correct because I said craft, but it's a carafe of water, and it's just water out of the tap.
Yeah.
And that's what they drink over there.
Oh.
So, I don't know. Yeah, the bottled water industry, if you look at from a marketing stance, they've done a very good job.
Yes, they have.
They hadn't set people's hair on fire, worried about drinking water, but at the same time, they've put enough doubt in people's mind, because you can go too far. You can become liable for whatever on, the water companies saying, hey, you're slandering. So they go just far enough to put doubt in people's mind.
Yep.
To buy the water. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, do what you want to do. It's just don't Don't freak out about either. I think is the way to do it. And I would rather save my money. And I drink water out of my refrigerator. That's where it comes from. Through that water filter that I haven't changed in years.
Well, see, that's probably worse. That's probably worse than anything.
You think?
Is to have a dirty, nasty water filter.
Yeah.
Because the water that's coming from Dalton Utilities, whatever you read in here that says they're more tightly regulated, I know for sure, because Dalton Utilities gotten some hot water 30 years ago with the drinking water.
Yeah.
And so now there's everything is so closely monitored with public water systems nowadays.
So you're saying I should just take the filter out of my refrigerator?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I take some of those test kits home with you and test your refrigerator water and your tap water. I bet your tap water's better.
Oh, that's interesting. I'll have to try it.
Yeah.
That'd be fun. All right. Well, how about a story for this week? I love this story. This is one of those stories where somebody's life was changed, and I'm just so glad that Darcy Peckskamp has sent us this story. It's called Running and Giving It to God. Hi, my name is Darcy Peckskamp. First, thank you for starting the Run for God / Upward Running Club. Your ministry has been a quiet, steady blessing in my life. I've been a member for a while, but only recently found the courage to share my story. The club has helped me turn my runs into something deeper and has given me the structure I desperately needed when I first started running. I never considered myself a runner, at least not until now. Running entered my life in a season when I felt deeply lonely and sad. My life was good to the outside world, but my days felt very lonely. I thrive around others, but suddenly there was just me. My husband and I had planned to retire together, so I left my job a few months before his planned date. Then he decided not to retire. I didn't want to pressure him because retirement is a very personal decision, but his one more 6 months turned into another, and then another, and another for a few years. In that same stretch of time, COVID hit. I had to say goodbye to my 17-year-old dog and send my sweet companion across the Rainbow Bridge. My best friends were still working full-time, so they weren't available during the day. We had moved to Arizona, far from my family and roots. I was picking up some virtual work and even started my own company from home, but it wasn't the same as being with coworkers. I hiked alone. I went to a restaurant and ate lunch alone. Every morning I would see my husband out the door at 6 a.m., sit down with my Bible and pour my heart out to God about how lonely I was. The only response I kept sensing was one simple word: run. Day after day, the same nudge. I didn't understand it, and honestly, I didn't want to. I wasn't a runner, and I didn't think I ever could be. Day after day, run. One day, in frustration, I snapped, "Fine, you want me to run? I'll run." I laced up my hiking shoes, still in my pajamas, and stormed out the door. By the third house, I thought I was going to die, but anger kept me going. I stopped, caught my breath, ran a few more houses, then turned down a deserted road and alternated between running and walking, all while I yelled at God about everything on my heart, and I mean every little thing. For a little over 2 miles, I ran, I walked, I cried, and I let it all out, every fear, disappointment, and frustration. At the end of that dead-end road, I bent over, convinced I was going to throw up. Exhausted, I started to cry, and I mean sob. In that moment, in the middle of my mess, I sensed a still, quiet voice that said, "Finally." Right then, I understood the assignment. God wasn't just asking me to move my body. He was inviting me to give Him everything. That day I learned 2 big lessons. Number 1, come to God like a child. Out there on that road, I realized I was behaving like a 2-year-old in the checkout line at Target who didn't get her favorite toy, tantrum, tears and all. But God could handle that honesty, and wanted that honesty. 2, truly lay it all at His feet. I didn't just tell God I was giving Him my burdens. I emptied them out, every ugly thought and heavy feeling. I had always said I was giving things to God, but I was still gripping them tightly inside. That day, for the first time, I fully relinquished them. Tear-stained, messy, and exhausted, it was all out. Once I calmed down, I realized something. I was 2+ miles from home with no water, still in my pajamas, tear-stained face and all, looking like a hot mess. The walk back was long and hard. I prayed the whole way. Lord, you took me out here. Please get me home. By the time I reached the house, I was physically spent, but was spiritually different. On that walk back, I kept thinking, what am I going to do with this new clarity? I'm very goal-oriented and tenacious. Give me a challenge and I'll find a way to meet it. I knew I needed a big, stretching goal, something that would require discipline and give shape to this new calling. That's how my goal was born, to complete a half marathon in all 50 states. A full marathon felt like too much at that point, but a half marathon, for someone who had never been a runner, felt big, bold, and just right. So I went to my computer and typed in, Run for God. That search led me to your group, and I joined. This community has helped me so much, teaching me how to become a runner when I had no idea where to start, and helping me grow closer to God at the same time. You've given me tools, strength, and encouragement, and I am so grateful. When I share this story, I like to challenge people. If God keeps putting something on your heart, even if it makes no sense, consider listening. It may feel strange, inconvenient, or even impossible, but He is leading you somewhere. You may not understand it at first, but in time you will see the purpose. For me, that strange instruction to run became a lifeline. Today I run because I truly love to run. Running has become one of the best tools to help clear the mess in my mind. It helps me focus, calm my racing thoughts, and draw closer to God. Running has become a moving prayer, a sacred space where the rhythm of my footstep clears out the loneliness and makes room for His voice. In the pounding of the pavement, I've rediscovered that I am truly not alone. In the solitude of long runs, I've realized I was never actually alone. God was and is right beside me. Running gave me more than a routine. It gave me purpose. It turned lonely days into a journey with direction and meaning. Thank you for creating a space where people like me can learn to run with God, not just for fitness, but for healing, growth, and deeper faith. I have a long way to go. I only have 4 states on my board, but I am excited for the journey and the adventure that awaits me. God bless.
What a great story.
Isn't that fantastic?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. So many people. You've talked before about how God asks us to do crazy things because then we have to give Him credit, Yeah. And that's kind of where she was here, right?
Yeah. Doing things that are crazy and don't make sense.
Yeah.
And you think, wow.
Yeah.
That's usually where God's going to do something pretty special.
Yeah. And He sure did here. And I think that's what God wants from us. He wants our sincerity. And in this case, it sounded like God knew that if she would just get out there and run her brains into the ground, that's what would come out of her, was that sincerity. And that's the point that Darcy got to, was she was just so frustrated with all of it. And
I love the description of out there on the road.
Yeah, I do too.
Tear-stained face. I kind of drew a visual from it,
Yeah.
Hot mess. That was a picture of a hot mess out there on the road.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
It's great. It's great. And yeah, I think God's trying to get all of our attentions. Got Darcy's attention here in an odd way. It just sounds like God knew that if she would just get outside and do this running thing, that it would just break her down to the point where she would let loose. And that's what happened. So if God's telling you to do something weird that you don't understand, that may be what He's trying to look for. He may be looking to break you loose in some way. It's just, this is such a neat story.
And you can say yes before He brings on the hot mess.
Yeah. That is true.
But how many times do we do that? We dig our heels in, and before we know it, we're just like her.
Yeah.
We're beat and battered and bruised, and we look back and we say, well, why didn't I just do this to begin with? I knew what He was saying.
Yeah. Well, and oftentimes he'll make us go through some rough things, a loss of a job or It could be even a death. It could be a health scare. It could be lots of things that will get our attention. And in this case, this was a little less dramatic, let's say, in the way that he got her attention. But for a lot of us, it takes something really, really super, almost scarring to get our attention.
Yeah. I watched a movie on the plane ride back. Holly refuses to watch it because she's read the book. Have you ever heard of The Shack? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Have you read it?
I've read it and watched the movie.
Man, I don't remember the last time I've cried during a movie.
Yeah.
Ripped me apart.
Yeah.
And, I'm on a plane with 300 other people, and I'm like wiping my eyes like, what is going on here? I must ate something. But they do such a good job. I mean, they take some pretty extreme liberties, but I think they did a great job of showing the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, but also showing, when we say, why do bad things happen to good people? The movie does a great job of kind of
putting that together.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been a while since I've seen it.
Yeah.
But I agree with that. And I know there are people out there, there's probably a lot of people listening to this who are like, well, the theology in that movie is not good. Don't focus on that.
Yeah.
Don't.
Yeah.
Please don't do that. That's what people do with the Chosen too.
Yeah.
They talk about these incidents, and people draw conclusions. Don't just listen to it with God's heart, and you'll really enjoy those things a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I can get on a soapbox on that. I mean, Jesus taught in parables because he said that those he was teaching could not understand. And I think what so many of these modern day movies are modern day parables. I mean, is God a big black lady? Probably not. But in that movie, it did a great job of, because the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit are three different beings, yet they are one. That's hard for me. We do ministry all day, every day, and we have for years, and that's still hard to understand. So anything I can see that kind of helps me wrap my head around that is good. It's a net good. Now, just like in The Chosen, did Jesus go chicken fight? Probably not. But it helped me to understand the humanity of Jesus, which he was a human. And did he chicken fight? I don't know. He may have.
Well, you know what I can't help but think when people attack these things, what I can't, and there are, please don't hear me wrong now. There are some things out there that are heretical.
Sure.
I'm not saying there aren't, but how many times did Jesus say something that shocked the people around him?
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Psalm 56:13, for you have delivered my soul from death. Have you not kept my feet from falling, that I may walk before God in the light of the living? She says, reminder to desire to listen and to do his work and thank him for his protection. This is God saying, this is David saying that God has protected me in the past, and I know he's going to continue to protect me. It's important for us we talk all the time on here about looking back and looking forward.
Yeah. We
need to look back, realize where God has had this impact and given direction in our life, and then realize that that's the reason why we're on the road we are now. Yeah. And it's, even though it may not seem like a positive right this minute, trust him. And he'll get us in the right direction, right? Yeah, I mean, kind of compare that to running. I mean, this is a running podcast, so let's draw this parallel here. I mean, it's kind of like the first time. Let's say you've never run a sub 8 minute mile. We always say you never know how far you can go until you go too far. Well, the first time you run a sub 8 minute mile, that is scary. Mm-hmm. The first time you do anything, especially in running, because we dramatize it, but you're like, I'm going to die. But you don't die. And you run that sub 8 minute mile. Well, guess what happens the next time that you want to run a sub 8 minute mile?
you look back.
That's right.
At the first time you're in that sub 8 minute mile and you're like, oh, I didn't die. We have the luxury of, and we should always look back to the waypoints in our life where we said, I'm going to die.
Yep.
And God's like, no, you're not. And he gets us through it. And so the next time that happens, we have full confidence in God. That is where faith and trust comes from, is from looking back where
Amen.
God has been before.
Amen. Psalm 32. O Lord my God, I cried out to you, and you healed me. She says, my thankfulness when I finally listened to him and took action that healed me. He is there when I cried out. I just need to have faith in what he is telling me to do.
Did you sing that hymn in your head when you read, "Oh Lord my God"? I did.
Did you?
Yeah.
That's a good one. Yeah, this has been something that has been on my mind a lot lately. I don't know why, but God has laid this on my heart a lot, is this concept of, do I believe what I say I believe? Like, do my actions match my words? And I think that's hard, right? We say God is all powerful. He can do anything. Well, do my actions match that, or do they not? It's a really super convicting thing to think about when you think about it. And it all comes down to our faith. What kind of faith do we really have? And, Jesus talks about having the faith of a mustard seed, which is famously a very, very small seed. And if we just have a little bit of faith, we can take that a long way. And so if that is truly the case, what kind of fruit is coming out of my life in my actions because of what I say I believe and what I am doing to back up what I say I believe? I don't know. That's what I got out of this, is we're going to cry out to God if we believe what we say we believe. And
because otherwise you wouldn't cry out.
Right.
I think I'm picking up what you're putting down now. It's, I've talked about the times I've sat in a dark church crying out to God. Looking back, that is comforting. That is the most real way that I can tell, okay, I'm not perfect, but my faith is there. Otherwise, and that's why God lets these things happen, right? To bring us to that church pew in the middle of the day in the dark. Because on the mountaintops, we don't cry out to God.
Yeah.
And so we got to have those checks and balances. And just like in running, you got to have the hard speed days and you got to have the easy, fun, long run where you're chatting it up with your friends. You got to have both.
Got to have both. Yep. Ephesians 6:15, and having shod your feet with the preparation of the gospel of peace. She says, peace. The peace I was seeking when I was restless and lonely. I was being challenged, and in that space, I grew more spiritually than any other time. I am still learning and growing, and I am at peace knowing He gives me what I need when I need it. Of course, this Ephesians 6 is the armor of God. If you've been a Christian for any length of time, you understand and know the armor of God, or at least you know it. You've heard it. And I think the reason why our feet are shod with peace is because it's foundational, right? The definition of peace is freedom from disturbance or tranquility. And I don't think that's the biblical definition, though. The biblical definition of peace goes a lot further. It is the freedom from disturbance, that certainly, but it's also the knowledge that it doesn't matter what happens in the outside world and what's going on around you. The peace is, what we call it in the Bible, is the peace that surpasses all understanding. Nobody who's not a Christian can understand the peace that we have because it doesn't make sense to people on the outside. Look what's going on around you. Why aren't you freaking out? because I have peace.
Yeah, I think that's probably the worst way we pervert that word is peace is not the absence of chaos. Peace is not the absence of bad things happening. Peace is not necessarily sitting by a calm river in a mountaintop somewhere or whatever. Peace can be there in the middle of some of the most horrendous situations. The death of a family member, the loss of a job, war. I mean, you name it, you can have peace. Peace is not what our society makes it out to be. They want to make it into something that's happy and fun and jolly. And if you don't have those things, then you don't have peace. You can have absolute perfect peace in the middle of craziness.
I can't help but think, and I don't want to move in a political direction here, but I can't help but think about Erica Kirk. Do you talk about in the midst of a tragedy, her husband had just died, and she says in a very public way, I forgive that man who did that. And you could feel that emotion in her voice, and it was her grasping at peace and finding peace in the most tragic of circumstances. That's what peace looks like, I think, is when we can get to that point where we can do things that don't make any sense.
Yeah, I remember I was watching that live, and when she started talking, I even said, I think Landon was sitting there with me, I said, she's about to forgive this guy. And I mean, you could feel it building, and I started getting emotional. You know, it's like, because that is such a picture of what we're all called to do. But we say, you know what, you don't understand. You don't understand what they did to me. They shot her husband. Or if you're God, they killed his son. And forgiveness is there. And I mean, The Shack, think what you want about that movie. That's what it's all about is forgive people, because we think we're special. You don't understand that. You don't know what they did to me, and mine was unique. No, it's not. Yeah, it's forgiveness, and that is required. If you have a grievance against your brother, he said, "Don't pray to me. Go make that right." Yeah, and then come back.
Yeah. Question: are you still gripping tightly at something that God has asked you to fully lay at His feet? Oof. I think I've talked about this on here before, and I'm still struggling with it. And that's Sabbath, keeping Sabbath. I just recently, I've got these boys that come by my house once a week or so. They're Seventh-day Adventists, and they're in college. They're wanting to be pastors one day. And what they do is they go around neighborhoods and they talk to people, and they have Bible studies with people. And I'm thoroughly enjoying talking with these boys. Great kids. They're going to be great leaders as they do what it is they're doing. But we've had some discussions about Sabbath. The Seventh-day Adventists keep Saturday as a Sabbath. As Protestants, we look at Sunday, and what we do is, I don't think it matters, honestly.
It's carpet color.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
But I might get some hate for that, but it's true.
But back to the Kirk thing. Charlie Kirk was keeping the Jewish Sabbath, even though he was not Jewish. Yeah, that was his. He felt like the way the Jews kept the Sabbath was very honoring, and so he pulled that part of things out. And here's a guy that you can't be busier than that man was. All the things he was involved in, all the things and yet he took the time for 24 hours every week to calm himself down, to focus on God, and to rest. Yeah. And that's what we're called to do. And that's where I struggle in a mighty way with keeping the Sabbath the way I should. Now, I do less, that's what we do, but are we truly keeping it for the spirit that it was intended or not? That's my thing. I don't know if you have another, but.
No, I agree.
Yeah. Now that Darcy's reminded me about it, now I have to now I'm going to have to do something. Are there times that you hear his voice but don't move or do what he is asking you to do? Another prodding question.
She's just stumping on toes today.
For me, the times that I don't respond to God are usually the smaller things. A lot of times when God's asking me to do something big, I'll respond to it, because most of those times there is a buildup to it. Typically, it's when God puts it on my mind that you need to go talk to that guy over there in the corner and pray with him. Mm-hmm. And it just takes me all of a sudden. It's like all of a sudden, and that you don't have time to think about it. You either do it right now or you're on to your next thing and you don't do what God has you do. Those are the ones that I tend to not respond to because you feel like you need some time to think about it. Mm-hmm. But when God puts it on your mind, we should be doing it, period. God said, do it, right? Those are the things that I struggle with the most. Now, it's not that I never do. I respond to that often, but very often I don't respond to those things as well. So,
yeah, I think about the times you mentioned going and talking to somebody. The times where God has told me hey, you need to go give that person some money. It could be something small on the side. I'll never forget one time. I think I've talked about it on here where my son and I, we were at the little woodworking store in Chattanooga, and I was leaving. It was like 5 o'clock in Chattanooga. Traffic was crazy, and there was a lady sitting there on the curb, and she just had a sign that said, "Need help." And I drove right by her, and I felt the Lord, hey, you need to give her something. And I ignored him. Because that's what it is, right? We ignore. We like to sugarcoat what that's called, but we ignored God. And so I get to the red light. There's a line of traffic behind me. And it's like he took a baseball bat to my head. And he does that sometimes. Mm-hmm. And I remember I about caused 27 wrecks because I threw it in reverse, backed around and out in front of people. And I went and just gave her a little bit of money. Yeah. But it's like peace, immediate. And I think he used that as a situation in my life. It's one of those teaching moments. It's one of those waypoints we can look back on. I can always look back to that moment and know that was the loud voice of God.
Yeah.
And when you recognize the loud voice, you start to recognize the still small voice.
Yeah.
But sometimes he's got to get loud.
Yeah.
And take a baseball bat and make us almost get in wrecks. And but
and the truth is, you have no idea what came from that either.
I have no idea.
I mean, for all you know, she is in some leadership position in a church now. You
or
don't know.
I assume that she was on drugs. I don't know if she was. She may still be on drugs. The point of that whole thing might have been to teach me not to help her.
Yeah.
But God can do both.
That's right.
God can do both at the same time.
Amen.
And sometimes, it would be easy to drive by the next week and still see her sitting there, with a bottle of whatever in her bag, and for us to go, way to go, God. That's not how God works. That's not how it's. We shouldn't be prescribing motives to anyone that God is asking us to help, because we're not the judge. He is.
Yeah, you're stomping on my toes now.
Yeah,
because I don't know how many times I've done that. I remember there were a couple of ladies on my college team back years ago that I felt like God had there for a reason, and both of them wound up away from the situation and off the team. And I thought, God, you wanted me to help them. Was my attitude, like why did you pull them away? When
God's saying you're the one that needed it.
It may be, or maybe what I needed to do or say to those two ladies was done and said, and they didn't need anymore. Mm-hmm. And but there's a reason for it. Again, we go back to this: do I trust God with what is going on? And the truth is that I, after the fact, didn't trust God because I was questioning him. Why, God? Why did you do that? When in reality, maybe he accomplished everything that needed to be accomplished in that situation. Yeah, good point. Or maybe it was just so it would come up now and me look back on it. There are many reasons to run: fitness, hearing God's voice, etc. What is the most important reason you run or walk? That's a good question too.
Holly and I had this conversation last night. I think for me, it's doing hard things. I've learned through the years that there's so much value, not just physically. Physically is probably the bottom of the totem pole for me now at this point in running. I don't care anything about having six-pack abs and, the vanity side of running. But I've learned that it's the doing something hard on a daily basis or doing it often helps you in your spiritual life. It helps you emotionally. It helps you. What's the big word everybody's saying out? We've talked about this before. It's better than
therapy.
Yeah, it's so therapeutic.
Yeah.
I guess is the word.
Yeah.
That there's so many things you get, and it could be cross country skiing. It could be, I like to ruck now. It could be doing hard things every day because society is saying, take the easy route, do the easy thing. That's the better way to do it. It's not. It's not. Do the hard things. Yeah.
Yeah, that's partially it for me too, because I think that uncomfortable feeling that you get when you do these things, I think makes you feel alive. Mm-hmm. I think that's part of the reason why we should do hard things is that you can feel the aliveness in that thing. But also for me, the alone time is really important to me. Mm-hmm. I need, for me, alone time. There are some people who could never be alone and they'd be fine. Yeah. But that's not me. I need alone time, and it's hard to do in today's world because we're so connected the way we are, and it's important for me is getting alone, and it gives me one-on-one time with God as well as with myself, and it helps me. That alone time does several things for me, and one of the things that it does is it helps me solve problems. Yeah. Most of the time when I solve a hard problem, it's while I was out on a run somewhere. And so that's why I think it's. Now I enjoy running with others too. Please don't hear me say I hate being around people. That's not what I'm saying, because I enjoy. I've got this. I'm going to run with somebody this afternoon, and that's great. But the alone time is important to me.
Sure.
It can be terribly hard to stay on track as a runner or a walker. The world also makes it difficult to stay on track spiritually too. For pennies a day, Upward Running can make both of these journeys more fun and much easier. Join Upward Running today and get access to training plans, videos, and the best group of active Christians you will find anywhere. Go to upwardrunning.com and sign up today. All right, we're back. Don't forget, we're always looking for stories. That's what fuels this podcast. And so, Darcy, you just heard Darcy's story. What a tremendous story that was. And you probably have a story too, and we would like to hear it. I'm sure people have been touched this afternoon, whatever time you're listening to this, by what Darcy had to say, and they can get the same thing from you if you will just share your story. So go to upwardrunning.com and share your story. All right, it's time for Dean's Thoughts. That's a time when I share something I've written about the intersection between running and faith. Don't you love a story with a twist? Well, this one's got a twist, and it's really good. It's called Training by Sifting. Have you ever used a sifter? I was fascinated with the baking tool when I was a kid and would watch my mother use a sifter to get lumps out of her flour for baking. Sifting is more than a baking technique, though. It is a powerful picture of how to grow as runners and followers of Christ. Just as flour is sifted to remove lumps and impurities, our training plans and our hearts both need regular intentional sifting so that only what truly helps us remains. When bakers sift flour, they pass it through a fine mesh that breaks up clumps, removes debris, and leaves a lighter, more useful ingredient behind. In the same way, athletes can sift their routines by examining workouts, nutrition, and habits to see what truly contributes to improved performance. This kind of sifting is deliberate. You try something, measure what happens, and then either keep it or discard it. Over time, the process leaves you with a training flour that is lighter, purer, and more effective rather than a heavy bag of traditions and or assumptions that no longer serve you. There was a long-held belief that running 2 hard workouts in the same week was not sustainable. But I decided it was worth retesting this past June. By carefully adding a second hard session for more than a month and paying attention to my fitness level, it became clear that performance did not improve. So that method was sifted out and set aside. On the other hand, a 30-day experiment with a fully plant-based diet produced the opposite result. Energy and overall well-being improved, so that change passed through the sieve and stayed in the bowl as part of an ongoing lifestyle. These are simple examples of how thoughtful experimentation and honest evaluation can refine both health and performance. Scripture also uses the language of sifting, but it points to something far deeper than training tweaks. In Luke 22:31, Jesus tells Peter that Satan has asked to sift you like wheat, a vivid image of fierce testing meant to shake and expose the true condition of his faith. The idea is not gentle sorting, but an aggressive shaking that separates what is solid from what is chaff. Yet even in that sobering warning, Jesus adds that he has prayed for Peter so that his faith would not ultimately fail. Trials, temptations, and disappointments function like a spiritual sieve. They reveal what is fragile, burn away false confidence, and, under God's care, leave a more sincere, steadfast trust. For the believer, sifting is not punishment, it is refinement, much like gold being purified in the fire so that it shines more clearly. For runners who follow Christ, training and faith are not separate silos. They are 2 arenas where the same God is at work. Just as workouts and diets are tested and refined, motives, attitudes, and priorities also need examination. Sifting questions might sound like, is this habit drawing me closer to God or distracting me? Is this pursuit helping me love others better or only feeding my pride? Over time, this kind of reflection aligns training with discipline, with discipleship, so that both body and soul move in the same direction. In seasons of injury, setback, or plateau, the experience can feel like being shaken hard in that spiritual sieve, but under God's hand, those hard moments can expose spiritual and physical problems and deepen dependence on Christ, producing endurance, humility, and hope that no personal record can provide. Every baker knows that unsifted flour can still make something edible, but sifting often makes it lighter, more consistent, and more enjoyable to eat. In the same way, an unsifted life can muddle through, but a life that regularly examines its training, habits, and heart before God becomes more focused, fruitful, and free. I've described how testing 2 simple changes, double hard workouts and a plant-based diet change, clarified what to keep and what to discard. In the same way, God's gracious sifting through circumstances and trials clarifies what matters most and shapes you into someone who reflects Christ more clearly. So, keep experimenting wisely with your fitness, keep submitting your heart to God's refining work, and let every shake of the sieve, on the road and in the soul, leave you lighter, stronger, and more aligned with the purpose for which you were created.
Man, that's a great story, Dean. You don't see sifters much anymore.
No, you don't. I don't know why, but when I was a kid, I just remember the sifter. Maybe it was just something my mother had that maybe But I think
flour pre-sifted now?
I think flour is just better quality now than it used to be. Yeah. That's my
I don't
theory.
even own one. As much as I cook, I don't even own one.
That's true.
But I don't do a lot of baking. So
that's true. Yeah. Yeah, but I haven't.
Although I do want to learn how to make pasta on my own.
Yeah.
After last week and watching people make it, that was fascinating. But yeah, what a great story. I mean, again, this is God using what we see as many times challenges and hard things and things we might question, using that to make us better. I mean, think about how many times do we pray for God to take something away from us? And when you look back 6 months or a year later, it was actually that thing that he was using to draw us closer to him.
Yeah.
Because guess what? When you say, God, take this away from me, what are you doing in the moment? You're talking to God.
Yeah.
And that might have been the whole point all along.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know why this just came to my mind was the idea of sifting is a lot of times when we think of sifting, we think about taking things out.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you have an addiction
mm-hmm.
and you want to get rid of it. So we think about that in the context of pulling that out and getting rid of it. But very often what we really need to do is we need to replace it with something else.
Mm-hmm.
And so sifting is not just about pulling out the impurities, but it's also about making sure that the good things get through.
Mm-hmm.
And very, very often we forget that part. We just want to take the thing away and not, you can't take away and create this void and not have something to replace it with. And, most of the time that is our relationship with God and improving that relationship and deepening that relationship that takes the place. But it's important. From a running standpoint, I was thinking about, I tried this 2 workouts per week back in June. You remember, I remember when I was doing it. Yeah. And I thought I'm going to
You were trying to do it back to back, weren't you?
I was doing it. I did it for like 6 or 8 weeks.
Yeah.
And I was forcing my body to try to adapt to it, to see if it worked.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what I found in the long run was I was able to do it. Yeah. And I was surprised that I was able to do it because I felt like I couldn't do it in the past. But forcing myself to do it, I was able to do it. But you know what I found out was, yes, I could do it, but it wasn't improving my running.
Mm-hmm.
So
there's some depth there.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times we think we do something because we think it's a good thing.
We want to be on every committee in the church.
Yeah. Yeah. Good example. Good example. And the truth is that if it's not effective, we need to sift it out. And so I said, okay, the 2 workouts a week, after 6 or 8 weeks of it, yes, I'm able to get through it, but it's not making a difference. And so I need to get that out. Well, I need to try something different. And so I've actually started here recently. What I'm about to do is I'm going to try to do 2 hard workouts one week, 1 the next, and see if there's a middle ground. Because usually I'm a 1 workout a week kind of guy. So, but anyway, the idea is that you need to look, not only can you accomplish it, but is it having its intended effect as well?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we had this conversation in our Sunday school class just a few weeks ago on the idea of, we've talked a lot about people's schedules on here, and, we can get so busy doing great things, but it leaves you empty. And the net result of that is bad. Even though you're doing great things, we're so arrogant to think that nobody else can do those things.
Yeah.
I know that's the way I am.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to do as good as I am. How arrogant am I for thinking that way? When sometimes God wants you just to let some things go. He's got plenty of people. Somebody will pick that up. But if you're doing so much that it's encroaching on your time with God, and we make the excuse, well, I'm doing the Lord's work. It's not what God wants.
Yeah.
God wants your time talking to Him.
Yeah.
That doesn't replace, the Lord's work doesn't replace spending time with God and in conversation with Him.
That's a great.
We think that. And so that's where, through the past several years, I've learned to say no.
Yeah.
It's not because I don't like it or I don't think it's noble or I don't think it would be helpful. we've got to learn to say no sometimes.
Yeah.
Even to good things, you have to.
Yeah, and that's true. There's another side of that too, though. It just made me think about this. This is what happened to me yesterday. So I'm getting ready. We have this thing called Caroling on the Corner in Cohutta, where our church and the people of the community all gather together and we sing Christmas carols, and we quote some scripture. And that was yesterday. That was last night in the little town of Cohutta. And I don't know how I became the point person for this whole thing, but
you do that a lot.
My job is usually get the keyboard set up and the speakers set up and the sound and all, make sure all that works. The production side of it. That's my job.
Yeah.
Well, somehow I got in on creating programs for it. And then I did that, which is not normally something I would do, but I don't mind doing it. I did it, but then I've got all this stuff going on, and I've got to do all this work to get this thing ready for everybody to be ready for everybody to be there. And then all of a sudden it came up that there was nobody worrying about the lighting of the candles. Well, it's an important part of the whole thing, right? Is to light these candles. It's part of the...
It's kind of needed for candlelight service.
Yes. And so I realized nobody was doing that. So my first thought was, that's not my job. Somebody else needs to do that. But then it hit me that if I don't do it, then it's just not going to get done, and then it's going to diminish the service.
Yeah, it's a balance for sure.
And so I thought, well, I'm just going to go do it.
Yeah.
And I did, and I felt like God was telling me, quit siloing yourself and just it's not that big of a deal. Just go do it. Yeah. And it turned out to be really simple in the long run.
Yeah.
So there's both sides of it, right? But just make sure God can use you for what He wants to use you for. And He'll, you know what? Here's the thing. God will tell you.
Yeah.
If you're doing too much and you go to God and you ask God, God, am I doing what you want me to do? He will reveal to you that you're doing too much. Mm-hmm. And if you're not doing enough, He'll reveal that to you too. I'm convinced of that.
Sure.
There is no better way to start the day than in the Word. Our Bible in a Year Challenge is a great way to start the day in the Word as I read through the entire Bible in 365 episodes. I also share helpful tips each day along with encouraging quotes. Choose the self-paced challenge so that you can go at your pace. You must be an Upward Running member for access to this exciting challenge. So if you're not a member, sign up today and get started. If you are a member, it is just a click away to get started today.
Every week I share a reason why running and or walking are so awesome. And it makes vacation better. I thought about this because you were on vacation.
Yeah.
And I thought, you just you were talking about walking 8 to 10 miles a day. How much easier is it for you to do all that walking when you're in good shape?
Absolutely.
100%.
Holly and I were talking about that last night.
Yeah.
It's
You have a friend call you up, you want to go for a hike. How much easier is that? And how much easier is it to say yes, first of all, but then actually go do it if you are a runner or a walker? You're going to Disney World and you're going to walk around Disney World all day long. If you're a runner or walker, that's a little bit easier on you than somebody, especially when a lot of times you go to Disney World in the middle of the summer when it's hot.
Not me.
Gonna be
No way.
Me neither.
No way. I had my fill of crowds last week.
I think if you go to Machu Picchu, I think Machu Picchu requires you to hike up to Machu Picchu. I think it takes some time. It's a rigorous hike, I believe.
I've never been there. Machu Picchu is.
Oh, no?
No.
Now I can't remember what the country. It's South America. It's down in South America. Anyway. Look it up, Machu Picchu. It's interesting. But anyway, you have to hike because it's on the top of a mountain. You have to hike up this mountain to get to it. And you'll never see this unbelievable thing that, is one of the wonders of the world if you are not in good shape. And it makes it much easier if you are a runner or a walker. So running, walking makes your vacations better.
Absolutely.
Well, this week we found out that Grand Slam Track, if you remember that was the Michael Johnson track league that he put together. They have declared Chapter 11 bankruptcy. I hate to see that. It looks like what Michael Johnson was trying to do is he was really trying to make this thing first class and make sure athletes got paid more money and that it was a really good production. He went through all of that stuff. So he spent a ton of money trying to make that happen. And then some investors backed out in the last minute. And, this
You know
this
what's
is what
weird,
happened.
though? I thought I knew it, and I was right. Are you sure it was Chapter 11? Because Chapter
that's what I
11
heard.
is restructuring debts and continue operating.
That's my understanding.
Chapter 7 is where you dissolve.
Yeah, that's what my understanding is. Chapter 11.
So they're going to continue.
There is a possibility.
They're wanting to continue.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
There is a possibility that it continues. I don't like their chances at this point, but
Yeah.
they're leaving that option open.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And then another interesting news on the professional front was Athing Mu. You may have heard us talk about her. She is an Olympic champion 800-meter runner, one of the greatest talents that we've seen in a very, very long time. She's an American record holder. She left her coach. She's famously coached by Bobby Kersey, who is a very famous coach who has coached many. His wife was one of the greatest athletes in the history of the world, Jackie Joyner Kersey. And he famously coaches Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone as well, who is one of the best talents on earth right now from a running standpoint. But he's not really an 800-meter coach. And so there were a lot of people who have been talking about this for years. Why is Athing Mu being coached by Bobby Kersey? Because he doesn't really understand the 800 meters. He's a great sprint coach. Fantastic. He's a great multi-event coach. He's not really a distance guy, and 800 kind of falls in between there. And so she has left Bobby Kersey. So we're going to see what happens now that she is away from him, because her last year or two has not been good, and it's sad to see. And I hope there is some talk that maybe she's hanging up her track spikes for good and she's not going to run at all. I hope that's not the case. I always hate to see somebody with that much talent give up on it.
Yeah.
But she clearly seems to me to not be all that happy in what she's been doing, and maybe a new coaching situation will bring the joy back for her, and she'll be back. So we'll see. And it's all female related this week. Sinclair Johnson, female American runner, a middle distance runner. She just broke the American record for the road mile this past week in Hawaii. They had an event there, and she ran 4:21 for the mile. That's pretty impressive. She was 3 seconds faster than Nikki Hiltz. Nikki Hiltz has been dominating the 1,500 mile now for about 3 years in this country. And so maybe Sinclair Johnson, who's always kind of seemed like the bridesmaid, who's never been quite at the top, but been very close, maybe she's kind of pulled things together and she's there. It's really hard to decide in December.
Yeah.
That's not typically when they peak. So we'll see what happens with that. Anyway, that's the professional scene today. A trivia question for this week. How about this? You may know right off the top of your head what the answer to this one is, but it's a trivia question nonetheless. So we got to ask some easy ones and some hard ones, right? Mm-hmm. What is the number one most popular New Year's resolution? If you know the answer to that, you can send it to dean@upward.org. And if you're the first member to send that answer in, you will win $20 off in the store. So check that out. What is the number one most popular New Year's resolution?
That seems to be a softball question.
It does, doesn't it?
Underhanded pitch there.
Our motivational thought of this week comes from writer Joel Brown. He said, "The only thing that stands between you and your dream is the will to try and the belief that it is actually possible."
Wow.
That's pretty good. Are you willing to believe it and then pursue it? Because that's what it takes. That doesn't mean we can do anything.
Yeah.
For example, there was a time in my life where I wanted to run a sub 4 minute mile. I never ran a sub 4 minute mile. So does that mean I should still be trying to run a sub 4 minute mile? Not quite. 60-year-olds don't run sub 4 minute miles. And so I can't do that. But it doesn't mean I have to stop pursuing goals.
Sure.
So I got this brand new goal just in the last couple of days that I am pursuing now. My goal is to break the American record for the 2,000 meter steeplechase for my age group. So the record right now is held by Nolan Shahid. It's 7:09.92, which is about 5:40 pace for a mile over barriers. And so that is my goal. Now, can I do that? I don't know. That's really tough. Nolan Shahid is kind of a legend in masters sports running. He's got a number of records, and so breaking a Nolan Shahid record is a big order. But you know what? I don't know if I can do it or not, but I'm going to try. And that is my goal, to try to break that record.
I think if anybody can do it, you can do it.
Well, we'll see what happens. So what is your goal for 2026? If you're sitting back and you're not creating goals, shame on you.
Yeah.
Shame on you. You should have a goal. And it doesn't have to be something like, breaking an American record. It can be, I want to run at least 3 days every week of 2026. Unless I'm sick or what, you can put caveats in there. But make it a goal that's hard, but doable. Mm-hmm. And I guarantee you, it'll drive you and it'll make your year better.
For sure.
You'll create that goal. So what is that for you? All right. 301 episodes down. Can you believe that?
It's crazy.
It's pretty cool. Thank you for supporting us. Make sure that you share this podcast with others too, because what we want is we want this to be shared with people who don't have a relationship with Christ. And hopefully maybe they'll see or hear something that will draw them closer. And until next week, may God bless every step of every run and or walk. Go out there and shine your light.
Good job, Dean.
For more information about Upward Running, visit upwardrunning.com. If you have questions about your salvation, click on the Peace with God tab. There is nothing more important. Thanks for joining us today.